So I was in the city of Santa Fe for a year and 2 months straight. So I spent a lot of time there. As far as the city goes, it's a very industrial city. There's a lot of people working there. It's very fast-paced. It's not like the country when there are people that are like a little bit slow or drinking mate all day. They do drink mate in Santa Fe, but it's a little bit faster-paced. As far as like the poverty and social classes go, is that mostly to the north and outside of the city you have the poorer areas and the more dangerous areas, and to the south you have the richer areas where the people who are doctors and lawyers and stuff like that. Then there's also several islands that are around, crossing bridges. There's a really famous bridge there called the Puente Colgante. It's really pretty. I think as far as in any Argentine city goes, you're gonna always have lots of bakers, always have a lot of shoemakers, always have a lot of people that are selling clothes. If you go to like the central areas, the shopping areas, you're always gonna have a lot of that. There's a lot of people that are teachers, a lot of people that are tutorers, but I'd say probably the predominant thing is probably construction there, that most people are construction workers. In Santa Fe, it's right on the edge of the Rio Paraná, or the Paraná River. It's very humid, and it's kind of, Santa Fe is down a little bit below sea level, and it's kind of in like a bowl, if that makes sense. And it gets very humid, and in the summer it's very hot and very humid, and you just leave your apartment and you're already sweating. And in the winter it does get very cold and very humid, but it does never snow. As far as housing goes for missionaries, all very, very good. You're always going to have that one companionship that doesn't have a good apartment, the unlucky ones. But when the new mission president got there, he made a really big effort to get all the missionaries very good apartments. And all my time in Santa Fe, I was in excellent apartments. As far as crime goes, it's one of the most dangerous cities in Argentina, like next to Rosario, which is also very dangerous. I think probably more dangerous than Buenos Aires, even though Buenos Aires is a lot bigger. I think it's because there's a lot of poverty in Santa Fe, especially in the north. But the crime is pretty bad. But if you're always paying attention to the spirit, then nothing's going to happen. When I was in my area called Ayacucho, which is in the North Stake, it's probably the poorest area in Santa Fe. Also a lot of crime there. It wasn't uncommon to hear that missionaries got robbed there, and in a lot of areas in Santa Fe. But I remember that one time I was with my brand new companion. It was his very first day in the mission, and I had never gotten robbed in that area. I had only been there one transfer, but I hadn't had any close calls really either. And so I was thinking that we were safe and nothing was going to ever happen. And I remember we were walking back to the apartment. It was like 9 o'clock at night, and I saw two kids standing in the street, about 20, and I had the feeling probably shouldn't go that way. But then I thought to myself, but I've never gotten robbed here, and I haven't heard of anyone getting robbed for a while, and so we're just going to do it anyways. And so we went, and what happened? They went and robbed us. And it wasn't a big deal. They just took 15 pesos from me, which is like $2. But my companion, who he didn't know that he couldn't carry things out in the street, had his camera on him and a watch, and they took that, and I felt pretty bad for him, but that's what happens. But it's things like that, in that if you're always paying attention to your feelings and the spiritual impressions that are coming to you, then nothing's bad going to happen. The only thing that happened to us is because I didn't pay attention to the feeling that I felt. But that was also part of the learning process, and that from that point on I always listened to the spirit, because I knew what it felt like, and I knew what I had to do. And you have to be very careful, because a lot of times the people there they're high, or they're drunk, or they just are desperate for money, and so if you don't cooperate them, it can be very dangerous. Most of the times they fake that they have a weapon. They usually don't have anything, but one time we did get robbed at gunpoint, and that was scary. But as long as you cooperate with them, if you don't have anything, you don't have anything, but always try to carry something with you to give to them, whether it be 2 pesos, which is like 40 cents, or a little more. Don't carry too little, because then they get upset that you're not carrying enough. And it wasn't uncommon for us to hear that 2 robbers went up and just killed someone sitting on their porch just to get their money. And so always be very cautious. Walk in the middle of the road. Don't go into really dark areas. Always stay in the lighted streets. It says all this in the mission handbook. but as long as you follow those, you'll be protected. As far as transportation goes, Santa Fe has a very good system as far as the public busing goes. That you'll probably get a card when you're there, just a yellow card, a bus card, and you can go to pretty much any little store on the side of the road and they'll usually charge your card. And you just get on the bus and pay. It's always going up. every few months it's more expensive, but that's normal to be expected. But you can usually get to any area you need to by bus, and so a lot of times they're not always reliable. Sometimes they come 20 minutes late. A lot of times you're waiting for a bus for a long time. But as far as the busing system goes, it's very good. As far as cost of living goes, it depends on the area of the city. When I was in the poor area of the city, I could make it through the end of the month with having hardly spent anything. And we would usually end up with like a little extra cash to buy more candy. But when I was in the richer area, it was a little harder to live, because where a cookie in the north area would be 2 pesos, and in the south it's 5 pesos. And so it kind of depends on the area, but when you're in the north it's usually cheaper, in the south it's usually a little more expensive to live.